Hi, my friends again. This is Adli Abouzeedan, and now we'll continue the recording of this second part of the lecture about happiness. And things are going very well, I think. In the first lecture, I looked. In the first lecture, I looked at the definition of happiness, and I talked said that the way we see happiness often is coupled to two things: the conditions we're living in and our personal experiences. And I took example myself and the kind of context I lived with, and a little bit about my personal life. And then I said that have to be naturally the definition between definition of happiness between one person and another is dependent on what the kind of person you're talking about. And I'm not going to dictate how people see happiness. It's basically their own choice. But I'm trying to put some guidelines, some principles that helps us in defining some principles that is used to define, or we can use to define happiness. And I think if we understand these principles and apply them in our life, then we can get as close as possible to our understanding of happiness. And I talked about 4 such principles: balance, own conviction, belonging, and inclusion. I'm going to go through each of them. In the last lecture, I went generally, I tried to explain generally what I mean. But now we'll try to apply these things in depth, and we'll be talking about different areas of the human life and see how we can apply these rules. Now, before I start, I want to stress something very, very important to me. I'm here not to talk about morality of things. I'm not here to judge people on what they do or on the things that they don't do out of moral aspect. This is not the concern of me at all. I'm talking about things which make us happy out of a general understanding of life. And definitely, sometimes our understanding of happiness does not match the conditions in society, or the legal aspects of society, or the laws of the society. That's completely other thing. That's not what I'm concerned with now. I'm concerned with is to give examples how those principles are applied in the different contexts. That's one thing. The other thing is that there is a lot of dynamics in societies of what is acceptable and not acceptable. I mean, sometimes the laws do reflect what is acceptable, okay, or what is deserved. But sometimes the laws lag behind the social changes in life. And sometimes our desires force in a change of law. So the relationship between what we want to do in life and the laws are very dynamic in its nature. And I'll give examples about that. So I'm here not to discuss the moral aspects of the thing or the religious aspects of the things. or the legal aspects of things. I'm discussing happiness in a very abstract way in relation to the human experience, to the human feelings. Now, whether the laws or the religious settings or the morals of the society accept that or do not accept it, it's completely different discussion. And I'm not going to bring it here because it's not related to happiness, in my viewpoint. It's related to social development. It's related to how laws are coupled to the historical context and how they are coupled to the level of maturity of societies. So, and the ability of them to keep up with the changes, the cultural and social changes in society. And that is, for that, there'll be completely different discussion, lecture about social change and how it occurs and how is related and how that is related to legal issues. My focus here is purely on happiness and what makes us happy. And then, as I said, we're going to talk about four things. We're going to talk about balance. We're going to talk about own conviction. We're going to talk about belonging, and we're going to talk about inclusion. I start by talking about the first one now, balance. I'll try to give 10-15 minutes to each, so I hope that I'll be finished by that. What do I mean by balance? You know, everything in the universe, everything in the life is based on balance. And in everything there are always two extremes. Take temperatures. Temperature, just to make you understand. We have extreme cold temperatures at around minus 273 degrees centigrade, and we have very extreme temperatures in millions. And what you consider the middle point depends on, the issue you consider. I mean, if you talk about the human life, we know, for example, that the biological life, the human, not only humans, but the life itself, in general, exists around certain range of temperatures. And if you exceeded that, these temperatures, the possibilities of having life survive this is decreased, and if you go down, it decreases. And that's why when scientists look at the new planets outside the solar system, they talk about the habitable zone. They talk about temperature range which is make life sustainable. And the same thing with life. There is always a balance point between the different things. And I talk about some of the areas which are very important. Let's start with something which is simple. Luxury, which means spending money on things, on cars and houses, on clothes. Now there are people who are extreme in their spending. What I mean is that they either don't give their self their rights, its rights, I mean, by being very mean to themselves, even if they have the money, but they don't like to spend them on themselves. And there is cases like that. There are people who are having a lot of money, in their bank accounts, and they live miserable life because they don't want to spend their money on themselves. They don't want to enjoy life. They feel that spending money on their life is a loss. They need car and they have the money, but they don't want to buy car. They they live in miserable housing conditions, although they can improve that. And these are very few, but they are. We have those. There is those people. Yeah. So that's not unbalanced way of dealing with your willingness to enjoy, you know, luxurious life. On the other extreme, which is far more common, is people who are spending in crazy way on things. And the problem is that the more they spend on things, the more they hook to these things in the imagination that they will be happy, and they will never find happiness, and they spend more and they will never find happiness, and they will never be satisfied. For example, they think that, okay, I want to buy one beautiful car, costs $1 million, 1 million Swedish crowns. They spend and they ride the car and they drive with it a couple of days, and then they feel that, oh no, I'm fed up. I want something better, 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 better. And they are living in a circle. They are consumed and they're running after happiness in the material things. What should make you happy is that when you hit the balance point. And a balance point, in my view, and this is my view, you don't have to believe in it, but this is what I feel, is that you would like to have a good, nice car for yourself. But beyond that, having 2, 3, 4, 5 cars, just to put them in front of your house and show the people that you have cars, is really, for me, is irresponsible. And I think it is now. A person has the right to do anything he wants, but I'm talking about my reflection, the way I see those people. Nobody needs more than one car to use. It's reasonable to live in a decent house, in a small building. But you don't have to live in palaces. I don't have to buy things with millions and millions and millions of dollars just to show the people that I have. And you can spend all the money in the world. You can spend all the money in the world, and you will never be satisfied. And I tell you one thing: some of the richest people in the world, especially in the Arab world, and I say that with a lot of pain in my heart, the amount of money they spend on their palaces and their cars are equal to budget. They are equal to what countries can spend. Where is the logic in that? And I really don't understand the logic in this, or the wisdom in it. When you have some place in the Arab world, in the Emirates especially, when you have a hotel that costs you to drink a juice, a glass of juice costs you, 5,000 crowns, $500. What's that? This has not to do with the personal freedom. Personal freedom, for me, means that you really have to care about the other people and the other people's feeling. When you are putting 5,000 crowns or 10,000 crowns for a cup of juice in an area where most of the people, most of the Arab countries, we have countries in the Arab world where 40%, 50% of the population is under the poverty line. Example, Egypt. And by the way, even within the Egyptian society, which is a society which is suffering greatly economically, there are groups of rich people who are hilarious in their spending. They don't have even this sense of connection to the rest of the population. For me, this is extreme. And I tell you, my friends, something. I know some Swedish rich people. They have a lot of money, but they have also they think in the right way, and they try themselves all the time to be in the balance point. I'll give you an example of one of them, and I hope he forgive me for that. But I'm not going to mention his name. But his story is a great story. He was living in a villa, and his family, his wife, wanted to, because they had kids, and these kids grown up, and they sometimes go to the house with their kids, so the house became a little bit smaller. So decided to buy a larger house. He told his wife something, as he told me, and I really appreciated him for that. He said to his wife, "I don't want to have two houses. If you want us to buy a larger house, we have to sell the house we have." Very wise thinking. Remember the balance point. You think right. Why you have to have two houses if you can live in good life with one house? So this is an example of the balance when it comes to material things. When it comes to spirituality, relation to material, some people who, as you know, and that was happening for the last 40, 50 years because of the materialistic philosophy in the West. That a lot of the Western people, they rejected, out of, like reflux, they rejected the materialism in the West, and they moved to total spirituality. Many of them went to India and China and searched for the older Eastern philosophies, Buddhism and Hinduism. And it's good. And this is even exists in Islam and Christianity. Sufism in Islam is a way to get out of from the material world. And spirituality is a great thing. It's great to be spiritual. But does spirituality mean that you have to look down at material things and disrespect of what is the material joys do to us? You see, those people who are totally materialistic in their life and they value only material, they are extreme. But on the other side, the people who are very focused on spirituality and they don't want to have a connection to the material world are also extreme in their thinking. And I remember one case, one Sufi. I came in touch with a Sufi group. One of the people who was there, Swedish doctor. I talked with him one time. This guy was a doctor, normal person who was like working as a doctor in Sweden, and he embraced Islam. But when he embraced Islam, he was introduced to this extreme form of Sufism. In a wrong way of thinking of how he should pursue his happiness. He rejected totally the old way of life he had, and he decided to leave. He decided to leave his occupation and to start he left the hospital he was working in, and he went. They bought a place, small island somewhere in Sweden, and he went. For me, this is the wrong way of of trying to find uh, the balance between spirituality and materialism. He could have stayed. He could have stayed as a doctor and kept working in that hospital. Okay. Uh, I'm sorry, I have to cut the lecture now. I'll be coming back.